Hello and welcome to Transfermarkt TV. I'm Manuel Veth. He's Stefan Bienkowski. Stefan, how's it going?
I'm very well, Manu. How are you?
Good, good. And today our big topic is Alexis Mac Allister, the Argentine midfielder who is going to join Liverpool, has joined Liverpool, depending on when you watch this video. And, in many ways, it's exactly the sort of signing that Jürgen Klopp has been craving. I wrote an article on him for Transfermarkt, where he sort of outlines his strengths and weaknesses. Scott Christensen, our area manager in Argentina and South America, is giving me some very good background. He outlined that this used to be an attacking midfielder who's now with very strong elements defensively. One thing that stood out to me was also his ability to score a lot of goals, despite being in quite a deep role in midfield. Right, he actually led Brighton in scoring last season, and in fact, if he was at Liverpool this season, he would be the third biggest scorer there as well. So this is, kind of feels like a defensive midfielder who used to be an attacking midfielder, kind of jack of all trades, I guess they would say. Stefan, you have some more numbers. This looks like a really, really clever signing.
Yeah, it's great that we have Scott on hand to obviously offer his history into the player, because I think that actually goes a long way to explaining why Mac Allister has developed into the player that he is. He basically is a player that can do a bit of everything, really, and can do a lot of it really well. Like, if we just kind of start with his defensive stats, so looking at, drawing comparisons to other central midfielders and defensive midfielders in the Premier League this season, he's 5th for ground duels won, 2nd for blocked shots, 11th for 50-50s won, 13th for recoveries, 17th for tackles won, which might not sound that impressive, but we're talking about every central midfielder in the Premier League this season. So he's a player who's more happy getting stuck in, but I think what really should stand out to Liverpool fans there is that he often tends to win these duels. He's fantastic. He just kind of making sure players don't get past him, and kind of being the kind of player that you can rely on to play as a number 6 or as a holding midfielder, or if Liverpool up against better teams, he's the kind of guy who can be relied upon to kind of really just kind of reinforce. I wouldn't really say he's a kind of all-out defensive midfielder. I don't think Brighton fans would label him as such. I don't think Liverpool fans want him to play that role, but he can provide a lot of cover in that midfield role. But as you said, and as Scott mentioned, he was kind of a more attacking player once upon a time, and I think that's definitely still where he kind of stands. We saw that in the World Cup for Argentina as well, where perhaps wasn't as kind of forward playing as maybe someone like Enzo Fernandez, who did a really good job of playing off Lionel Messi, but Mac Allister was definitely the kind of more of a kind of classic number 8 who was making these kind of late runs into the box, which is so important in the modern game. And as you said, if we kind of look at his kind of key metrics in an attacking sense, compared to other central midfielders in the Premier League, we can see just exactly how well he stacks up. As you said, he was 1st for goals, so he's got more goals than any other central midfielder in the Premier League this season. 3rd for key passes, which is a pass that leads to a shot, or it's also known sometimes as an unsuccessful assist. 1st for shots on target, which I think is something Liverpool fans will be delighted to see. 4th for successful dribbles as well, which I think is a really important metric when we kind of want to line him up as a number 8. He's the kind of guy who's more than happy to run from box to box. He's great at going by players, great at kind of breaking the line. And then there's 2 other ones I think that are really important, which is 3rd for through balls and 8th for successful passes in the opposition half. So he's a kind of, like you said, he definitely is a kind of jack of all trades, but I think what's probably more important is that he's a very attack-minded midfielder who has kind of been rounded off by his kind of, his development as a player. Maybe when he was younger, he was far more interested in being in the opposition half, but he's definitely developed into a player with a kind of fantastic kind of, a game intelligence, which means that he can be relied upon to kind of play defensively as well. So, yeah, I think Liverpool picking up a fantastic player, and one that will probably fill a number of holes in that midfield, which, as we've discussed on a previous video on this channel not so long ago, they desperately need to fill.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I pointed that out in the article too. There's a number of players leaving, right, or have left. And their pursuit of Jude Bellingham wasn't successful. And so with that in mind, and actually the things that you now mentioned, that makes it sound like Mac Allister, I hate using this term, but he sounds like a cheaper, just as good alternative to Bellingham in many ways. Yes, he's older, of course, right? but at the same time, you do get a ready-made Premier League player who has been really at the peak of his performance this season. So, I don't want to draw this Bellingham comparison, but it does sound like Klopp and Liverpool have found a player who might be just as good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head perfectly there. Maybe Jude Bellingham's probably the sexier idea of a player. He's obviously very fashionable at the minute. He's a very exciting young player. Don't get me wrong. He's the kind of FIFA cover pick player, if you want to call it that, and with good reason. He's obviously done a fantastic job at Dortmund, but he's still kind of developing as a player. We're not quite sure if he's going to play as a kind of more number 8, if he's going to play as a number 10. He's kind of getting to play a bit of everything at Dortmund, but in Mac Allister, Liverpool will be picking up a player who, as we know, very successful in the Premier League, proven time and time again in the Premier League, and has already shown that he can do a bit of everything. Whereas I think Bellingham, had Liverpool gone all in for him, certainly has the potential and the talent to become a player like that, but perhaps wouldn't be able to kind of rock up on day one and say, I'm a ready central midfielder, ready to play in the Premier League. And in a sense, do both things. As we've kind of seen at Dortmund this season, actually, they've brought in guys like Emre Can to play far deeper, and that kind of compensates for Bellingham in a sense as well. So, yeah, I think Mac Allister, to maybe use a kind of bit of a cliche, is probably a safer pair of hands here for Liverpool. And while he's not, 19 or 20 years old like Bellingham, he's still certainly young enough that they can get a good 8 or 10 years out of him. So. And it seems like he's more than ready to do exactly that for them.
Yeah, very exciting if you're a Liverpool fan, for sure. You can check out his profile. You can check out all the other transfer rumors and stories and articles, etc. on Transfermarkt. Go check that out now. And also leave a comment underneath this video. Let us know what you think of Mac Allister and where you see him in the next few years. We'll be back soon with more content. Until then, cheers and bye-bye.